welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching me, my name is Lauren and this is my new channel where I will be talking about books, doing book reviews, making recommendations, having discussions and rants. So please like and subscribe. Click that button. So today we are going to be talking about books that are really not very talked about. They're somewhat underrated or people just don't even know about them. And these are books that I really enjoyed. So I'm going to recommend them to you and I will talk a little bit about them. This will be spoiler free, but I will bring up some things that you can easily find on the backs of the books. So don't you worry. So my first recommendation, this is going to be a book that is talked about, so a lot of you might already know about it, but I definitely haven't seen a ton of videos on this book and I actually thought it was pretty good, and that's going to be Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. So Sky in the Deep is going to be a Viking-based book with Norse mythology, and it's going to be following Island. So she is in the Aska clan. So every 5 years, rival clans will come together on the battlefield and they'll fight. So on the battlefield, she's doing her thing, she's slicing away, killing people, but then she looks up and sees something that she never thought she would ever see, and that's her brother, whom she thought was dead. So the book progresses with her finding her brother and basically saying, hey, what the heck happened to you? And she ends up getting captured by the opposing clan that her brother is now a part of. And so the book is basically about her battling between her loyalty for her clan and her love for her brother. And then there's a whole lot of different conflict that goes on in the book, and she ends up having to trust Fisk. Now Fisk is her brother's best friend slash new brother. It'll be explained in the book. But she's having to trust him to basically stay alive. I really loved this book though. I really loved that Adrienne brought back her brother, and the way that she responds to this in the book was a huge tearjerker. And so if you're a softie like me and you enjoy those relationships and feeling heartbroken, then this is a good book for you. I also really loved that it was about Vikings. If you're into Vikings at all and you're interested, then I would go ahead and pick up this book because you don't see a whole lot of Viking books. If y'all know any Viking books or anything that's similar, please let me know and drop it down. I'd be very interested. This book also has romance, which you will see in all of the books that I read. It's definitely not a slow burn romance. There is a sequel to this book. It's called The Girl the Sea Gave Back, and it is the same setting and some of the same characters. However, it's based years later. So that book is going to be following Halvard. He is a character in Sky in the Deep, but he's a little boy in this book. And so the second book is following his POV, and then it introduces a new character as well. That one is a lot less on the romance side, and you don't necessarily have to read the first book to read the second one. So if you know that you're not huge on romance, but you still want to read a Viking-based book, and you could probably read that one and still enjoy it. I do like sequels where they bring back some of the old characters because I love to see what happened to them, and because I wanted so much more from Island and Fisk. So for the second recommendation I have for books that really aren't that talked about, this is going to be a series that I actually never even heard of. I just stumbled upon it. I don't even know how, but I found it. And that is going to be The Kingmaker Chronicles by Amanda Boucher. So with this series, we have 3 different books. The first one is A Promise of Fire. The second one is Breath of Fire. And then the third one is Heart on Fire. And yes, I have baby versions of the books, as you can see. But your girl was balling on a budget, so I went with the cheapest option. Let's talk about this series. So I actually really enjoyed it. It's definitely a much spicier book. So Sky in the Deep wasn't very spicy at all. This was just kind of like a This was a lot more YA, whereas Kingmaker Chronicles is probably closer to adult fantasy. This series is actually going to be related to Greek mythology. So if you're interested in Greek mythology at all, then this will be a really good one for you. It's not very heavy with the Greek mythology, but it does give you a lot of different elements to that. There's a lot that goes into it. There's magic. There's warriors, there's opposing clans, opposing kingdoms. So this series follows Catalia Fisa, or Cat for short. So Cat is on the run from her mom, who's basically out to kill her. And so she disguises herself as a soothsayer in a circus. So as a soothsayer, she pretends to be able to kind of look into the future. So she has a little magic ball, but it's all a facade. She's really trying to hide her true identity. Well, one day at the circus, this man comes along, and his name is Griffin, and he's gonna be our second protagonist in the book. Griffin basically steals her. This is like kidnapping, but adult version, but he takes her with him and his friends. So Griffin steals her away with the hopes that she's going to help his kingdom, and he thinks that her powers could be really helpful. Cat is not having this. So she is another badass character that I love. Things start to brew between her and Griffin, and there's a lot of plot twists, and we start to learn more about Cat, and it's really, really exciting. Toward the end, though, it's not just Cat that's in danger, it's now Griffin and her friends, and we learn a lot more about who Cat is and who her mom is and why she is so dangerous. Talk about family drama. Her mom is crazy. But we see a lot of different characters as the series continues, and I really enjoyed the characters that we meet. So we meet some of Griffin's family, we meet some of Kat's family. Oh God. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of battling, swords, arrows, magic. There's also a lot of self-sacrificing in this book. Everyone wants to be the hero. There's a lot of loyal characters, and I really love that about them. I also really, really loved the beta team, so you're gonna find out who the beta team is if you read this. Another thing about the series is Kat goes through such horrible things, like painfully physical, emotional things, and it is crazy, and it makes me feel really, really weak because I will stub my toe and cry like a baby. There's also, I think, a spin-off series following one of the characters that we meet later on that's related to Griffin. I will have to look into that one. I don't even really know what it's called right now. I will look it up. But yes, highly, 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 highly recommend that one. I can't recommend it enough. My cat is here to join us. Say hello, Ella. Hi. Okay. So the third recommendation that I have for you, this is a series that is not yet complete. So we have 2 books out right now, and the 3rd book should be coming out this year. I want to say sometime in the fall. But this series is Kingdom of the Wicked. So currently right now we have Kingdom of the Wicked, and then we have Kingdom of the Cursed. And this series is based around witches, demons, and the devil. So our main character is Amelia, and she has a twin sister named Victoria who ends up getting murdered. And there's murders going around the island where she lives, and all of the victims are witches. Amelia's grandma is warning her, don't go out at night, you'll need to stay inside. It could potentially be the devil or the wicked. And so the wicked are the princes of hell. And so the princes of hell, they represent the 7 sins. So we have wrath, pride, gluttony, sloth, lust, there's one more, and greed. Victoria gets murdered and Amelia is devastated. So she will do anything to find out what happened to Victoria and who her killer is. She uses a little bit of magic and summons a prince of hell. That way she can interrogate him. So the prince of hell that arrives is Wrath. And so Wrath is summoned and she's interrogating him, and she's basically holding him captive in order to find out who the killer is. What is going on over there? Ella. Oh my gosh. So Wrath and Amelia are working together to solve these murders, but we really don't know if we can trust Wrath. But there is somewhat of romance that starts to brew, especially in the second book. And the second book definitely starts to get a little spicy. The first one is very low spice level. The second one starts to get a little bit spicier. And we actually get to see the different realms in hell in the second book. And then it also becomes very much like a mystery book. We're trying to solve the murders. We're trying to figure out what happened to Victoria. We're trying to figure out if we can trust the Princes of Hell. A lot of questions about Victoria's heritage and the witches and who she really is. And so you're going to find out a little bit more about that story and why she's so confused. But at the end of the second book, I was very lost. I don't know what's happening anymore. And so I'm really looking forward to the third book. And I'm also excited for the characters. I like where it's going romance-wise. I like Amelia's character. But yeah, if you enjoy reading about handsome devil princes and witches, then this would be a good series for you. And the third book is coming out this year, so it gives you time to read the first two books. So those were the main series that I wanted to recommend. There are a couple other ones that I wanted to mention, but I won't get too much into. But the first one is going to be the Razorland trilogy. So this is a 3-book trilogy. Their first one is Enclave, and then it's Outpost, and then Horde. And so this series follows Deuce and Fade. Deuce and Fade live underground because they believe that topside, so where we live above ground, is really dangerous. It's basically like a post-apocalyptic book, but they are forced to go topside and survive on their own. And this is really devastating for Deuce because her whole life she's been taught that you can't survive up there. And then there's other characters along the way that become really important and really close to our main characters, but they have to learn how to survive in this world that they thought didn't even exist. This is a romance, but it's low spice, definitely YA, so it's an easier read, but I do recommend it. I read it when I was a lot younger. I want to say sometime like early high school, but I do like to reread it from time to time. I just enjoy it, and I enjoy the adventure of it. It does have like zombies in there, or some creatures. I don't even really know what they are. And Deuce is a warrior, of course. That's basically all I read is warrior women. There is somewhat a love triangle in there too. It's somewhat a coming of age book, and our main character Deuce has to learn to kind of break down those walls that she has built up for so long. The other series that I wanted to recommend is His Fair Assassin series. So the first book is Grave Mercy, and it follows Ismay, and she is raised in this covenant of women who are taught how to be assassins. And so they learn how to fight with all these different weapons. They learn how to make potions. They learn how to seduce people. And they are led by Death. And so Death gives them a sign. And so Ismay goes out on a mission, and she, once again, basically was raised to think all of this stuff, but then learns a lot of different information along the way. So there's a conflict of interest, there is some romance to it, and it's kind of cool learning about this different world for these women who have this special ability to see death. And there's 3 books in this series, although they have a different point of view each time. So the first one follows Ismay, and then the other 2 series follow her friends that are also in the covenant with her. So the second one follows Sabella, and the third one follows Aneth. But in the third book, it does kind of wrap up all of the different characters, and they kind of come back in that third book. I will admit I haven't read the second and third book yet, but I will. So a long time ago, and kind of up until recently, I was somewhat against reading sequels if it didn't have the characters from the first book. And so I am gonna go back and actually read those books, and I will do a review video once I do and let you know what I thought about it. But those are all of my recommendations for today. I hope that you enjoy this video and that you'll go and read these books. They really aren't talked about that much, but I thought that they were really good. Let me know what you think about them. You can also drop down some recommendations if you have any of books that you think aren't that talked about but that you really enjoyed. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to watch more videos. Bye. Say bye. Say bye. No? Alright.